let's start with the Lizzo news. I know you have a lot of extensive notes here, Brooke. Why don't you give us a quick recap and breakdown what's going on?
Yeah, so essentially, if no one has heard yet, Lizzo has a bunch of allegations and a lawsuit going against her from former dancers. Basically just saying that they had a bad work environment and were forced to do things and so on. So I'm kind of just going to say all of the allegations that she's up against right now from these former dancers. So it's hostile work environment, religious harassment, racial harassment, disability harassment, intentional interference with prospective economy, which I had no idea what that meant, but it's basically being unlawful in your business just because you can, because you have that power over someone, essentially, which is wrong. And then assault and false imprisonment. So there's been a couple different dancers who have come out and discussed their experience with working with Lizzo. The first one is Ariana Davis. She said she was pressured to do things such as like touching a new performer, and she was asked in a private meeting for them to discuss her weight, and pressured into doing long rehearsals where they were constantly told they weren't quote unquote good enough and had to like re-audition essentially for everything that they were doing. And she is also one of the dancers who said that she had to go on to the bathroom on herself because she was so scared of what was going on, which is horrible working conditions. And then another dancer, Noelle Rodriguez, said during a practice that Lizzo had like balled her fist up and was like cracking her knuckles at her, acting like she was gonna hit her. And a dancer had to hold her back, otherwise she believes that like she would have come at her. So a lot of very strong and powerful, I guess, allegations against Lizzo, which, you know, Lizzo stands for things of like inclusivity and positivity, which is crazy to think that these things are happening from this celebrity, you know. But I guess you don't really ever know what the conditions are, what someone's really like. You know, celebrities put on a performance essentially like all the time, but I don't know.
It would be weird. I mean, I guess it's true that people do like project what they don't like about themselves onto other people.
Right.
But I know there's a long list of like allegations, but the body shaming one is really what stood out to me, because like how as you as a person, you know, going for anti-body shaming,
right,
but then you go out and body shame people who you employ. I feel like it's kind of weird, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just felt like that was like the obvious, like, I don't know, like knee-jerk reaction to this entire news outbreak was like that one thought I had is like, how can you body shame people who you employ when like you're against body shaming?
Right. It all just seems like really weird and contradicting to like what she stands for and then all these things. And, you know, it's hard to say, like Lizzo also came out with a statement against this saying like she just feels really strongly about her work, and with that comes hard work and dedication, I guess, essentially. But, like, still, I don't know why these dancers would come out and say something that's not true. Like, how would they make up all these things, you know? That's what I always think when these things come about is, like, why would they construe, if I said that right, these, like, stories and things that happen to them if they're not true? But there was also a interview with that dancer, Ariana Davis, and then another dancer, Crystal Williams, on TMZ, that kind of changes how things kind of look a little bit. I don't know. The interview was just not great, I think, because the girls talked about how, like, if you didn't do certain things, they felt like their job was at jeopardy, and they weren't booked for certain jobs if they weren't, quote-unquote, down for anything or, like, went out to outings. And I feel like this hurt their case because they were saying more of their feelings and not, like, for certain things.
I picked up on that too.
Yeah, and I I mean, I feel bad because obviously I feel like something happened, but this kind of now is like questioning their case, is like what really happened, you know? Like the written allegations made it seem like they were more forced to do things, which obviously is not okay. But the interview kind of made it feel like it was their assumptions or feelings and might be glazing over more serious issues that could be happening. But I don't know. I just felt like the interview kind of made the written allegations look a little different from that, which I feel bad because, yeah, if something serious is happening to them, like being harassed in their work environment, obviously that's not okay. But it kind of now alters, I think, like, how serious are these things actually?
Yeah, cause there was a lot of like, I felt as though my job wasn't safe if I didn't go to this party. Right. So it's like, where's, in my opinion, like, where's the direct, you know, hard evidence from Lizzo stating that, hey, if you don't go to this party, you are fired. Right. Not, no, oh, I felt as if, like, I would be fired if I didn't do this. It's like, what, right, like, hardcore evidence led you to believe that? Because Lizzo, like, if there's something, like, in some sort of writing, you know, like a text message or like an email saying, hey, if you don't do this thing, you are fired. Right. I guess you could have a case, right? But then, like, going back to the point you made about the dancers felt like, or they had to like re-audition for their spot because like they weren't good enough. Yeah. I mean, is that really like a crime?
Right. And especially,
isn't that this part of like show business of like, if Lizzo is like watching, you know, the dancers on like a playback thing, right? Watching, because I assume they're like recording like a video, right? It's going for a long period of time because you have like rehearsals and then you watch playbacks and whatnot. And if she felt as though like those dancers were up to standard, like, yeah, I think wouldn't she have the right to fire them?
Right. Like some of the things they're talking about, more or less, like we were talking about, like seem like feeling kind of things. Like, oh, I'm feeling like I'm going to be left out of this, or I feel bad about myself because I'm not in this job or whatever, which again, like you said, is part of being a dancer, especially for a celebrity. Like you have to like be put through these harder conditions and try hard. Otherwise you're not always going to be put in that. But that's where the line is wavy, because yeah, like something like that, it's like, okay, like that's understandable. But then like being forced to like do sexual things that they're talking about,
yeah, that part's
or
weird.
like that's where it draws the line, like harassing them about their body and like other things about making fun of like their religion, she said. Like I don't know all the extent, there's like this 60-page whole lawsuit thing, whatever. Like that's where it's like, okay. But then when they go on these interviews, these are the only things they're talking about, you know? So I don't know if it's like they're just glazing over the whole situation and only focusing on this stuff, then I don't know how serious their case is going to be taken, which kind of stinks. Like if there really is something more serious going on. Yeah. But I don't know. That's why the interview with TMZ kind of shaded it out. And so I don't know, if the things really are in that way, then I do feel bad for them because that interview kind of tanked them a little bit.
I'm trying to find the name of Lizzo's attorney, because isn't like a pretty like well-known attorney in Hollywood.
I think it is. And then like I'm not sure how great their attorney is.
Oh, the lawyer's name is Marty Singer. Marty had worked with Jonah Hill, Kim K, and Chris Brown before.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. I mean, it sounds like she's going to have a pretty good legal team with her, too. Right. You know, only bring that up because, like, if you're the backup dancers, right, you probably shouldn't go on TMZ and say a lot of stuff that would kind of defame your own case. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I think you have to be pretty stout. Right. And this type of stuff. And I'm looking through this article from Vox. Am I saying that right? Vox.com. Just trying to find stuff that like points at any like hard, evidence, like.
Right. And that's why I feel is, especially the TMZ interview tanked them, is because there was no, this happened. Like, they weren't very adamant about this is what happened and all that, being more of a statement more than a I think or I feel kind of situation.
Yeah. I mean, I hope this case in like a higher sense brings attention to workplace conditions in the music industry, just because like I've heard like other stories too about like the hours are super long, contracts are short, how much are they getting paid, how they get treated. So I hope this turns into a healthy conversation about that, and like things are actually put in place. Like,
I agree.
I don't know what type of like regulations need to come out of this, but like hopefully they get to a spot where like the actual workers are feeling more appreciated and welcome, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, do you have anything else you want to go over?
No, I think that's all, and I agree. Just something positive coming out of this, like hopefully, all in all, just like more respect for like her dancers, regardless of what is actually happening,
Yeah, so, and Lizzo came out with a statement on Instagram, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Like, she was saying that, like, these dancers essentially were let go, kind of, like, because of their work ethics. Like, they weren't good, she quote unquote said, supposedly. And like,
right, so they got like fired, and now like they're trying to clap back type thing.
Like, they were like let go because of that. And then she was saying like, I make art that I want respected, so you have to put in hard work and stuff like that. So she didn't, like, Lizzo didn't come out and say sorry, or like, because of course if she admitted to it, then she's guilty,
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously she's putting up that front that none of this is true. Yeah,
well, she has to.
Right.
Yeah, I bet some of this is true. I mean, I feel like the truth always lies in like the middle.
Right.
Or else these, these dancers really aren't truly lying just because they're pissed off at Lizzo, whatever. But I don't know.